Welcome to Australian Musicians.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm wondering how a girl from the suburbs of Melbourne became so enamoured with the blues and soul music.
Actually, a weirder question is a girl who was born in Sri Lanka, came to Melbourne and never heard soul music or any of that stuff, became, fall in love with soul music. I guess the guy behind me was my first inspiration in music, Ray Charles and Elvis. So I heard a lot of it when I was a little kid, and I always interpreted music like that. So my dad was a jazz musician, and he used to play jazz songs, and I used to sing them in a soulful or bluesy way. He'd go, well, that song doesn't go like that, but it's interesting what you're doing. So I don't know. That's pretty much it, I guess.
Yeah. What about female vocalists that have inspired you?
Loved Aretha, Ella Fitzgerald was one of the first things that Dad introduced me to when I was really little, because he loved big band. So he used to play all the jazz stuff, and he'd say, let's try this or let's try that, or he'd play all that stuff. And I loved Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Dinah Washington. So that's who I grew up listening to. And then I heard Aretha, life-changing. And then later on, and I was about 24, I started going to blues jams, and someone said, you've got to sound like Etta James. I said, who's he? I was like, I don't know who that person was. And it was just incredible. So I fell in love with Etta James at about, 24 years old, and then heard people like Sharon Jones, and just a long, evolving love story.
Yeah. Is there a particular album that you have worn out over the years that you keep going back to?
I've got everything that Etta James has done. I've got everything Aretha's done. I love Patti LaBelle, everything. And I just keep going back to those things. I just love them. I don't think there's any particular album. There's just all of that material, because there were different stages of their lives where they went more jazz or more blues, and there's just so much you can learn from those singers. You go, wow, when she does a ballad, she does that. When she does jazz, she does that. When she does blues, she does that. And it's just incredible stuff to learn from.
You've just released a brand new album called Natural. What was the goal for this album before you started? What was the plan?
Wow, I wasn't planning on releasing this album. So the deal was that I actually got very sick last year. I had a cancer scare last year, and they removed a tumor from my neck. And during that time, I said to my husband, I said, I may not be able to sing again, because that's what they said to me. They said, you won't sing again, you'll have hearing trouble, and you may not ever be able to open your mouth correctly or any of those things. A lot was going to change. This was January last year. So my husband said to me, he said, look, you've got these great songs. If you get out of this, make the album. And I said, I can't afford that. And he said, do it anyway. So that's what happened.
You've already spoken about Aretha and her influence on you. Rocksteady is a track on the album. How did you come up with that arrangement?
Well, I was given that song. I jumped into a covers band a while ago, and they gave me that song to sing. And it was literally impossible for me to sing it. This is going back 4 or 5 years, I think. And they gave me the song. They go, here we go, the gig's in a couple of weeks. And I went, you want me to sing that? I couldn't hit the notes. So I had to come in here as put on my singing teacher hat and teach myself to sing the song. And when I did, I thought, well, wow, I really want to hear that arrangement change. And I thought, great guitar solo at the end. We changed the horn lines, we changed the backing vocals, and we just went, we don't want to do a cover. I want to do something that's unique, and the band just goes off on that song. So it's a great live feel. Again, wasn't intending to put that on the album. It was just such a fun song to do live that we thought, let's put it on.
Yeah. Why did you title the album Natural?
I was going to title it Sass and Brass, which was the name of the EP that was released 5 years ago, but just signed to Only Blues Music, and he said, look, it's going to confuse audiences to have Sass and Brass, the EP, Sass and Brass, the album. So we went through, natural soul and whole bunches of stuff, and just went with, this is me at my most natural self. All the songs were recorded in like 2 takes, so I'm just kind of hollering, and that's just what I do. That's my natural. That's just me. So I just went, okay, that's just me.
The way you phrase songs, is that already established before you go into the studio, or is there an element of improv once you get in there as well?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that when I because a lot of these songs have been gig friendly, like we've gigged them a lot, we've road tested pretty much every song on the album, so I was already singing them, and we don't gig an awful lot because the band's the 8-piece and it's hard to get 8 people paid. However, we have played all of these songs live, so there was a very clear method of how I was going to sing them, and then there's always an ad-lib part of the songs, and I never know what's going to happen there. So it's just I do 2 takes of a song, and then whatever works, we kind of make that work.
Yeah. How long did it take to put together that 8-piece band with all the elements that you wanted?
Very kindly, Mr. Cam Scott, who's a really good friend of mine who works on the first part of the album with me, the first 5 tracks. He said to me years ago, he said, look, you really need to articulate what you're hearing. You're feeling all this stuff, you're hearing that stuff, and he's an incredible arranger. And so he said, look, I can help you with the arrangements, I can put this. So he introduced me to all the guys. He just said, look, I'll just put this band together, let's do this. And we did, and so people have changed over during that time, but some of the band members are still the same, so it's great, and that's how I got these incredible people behind me. Yeah.
It's a very authentic soul sounding band. Were you referencing any albums in particular?
No, I think that's there was always that element of I love James Brown, I just love Tower of Power, like all those guys, like the massive horn sections, that 70s funk sound. I don't think any of us kind of went, let's make it something. It became what it is. It just naturally is that. I don't think we weren't thinking it, we were feeling it. We weren't going, let's make this perfect. It's just, let's play it. And that's what it is.
Is there a track on the album that's closer to your heart than others?
Definitely Grateful.
Every day that I'm breathing, I'm grateful, I know. Every day that I'm walking, talking, dancing, flying, grateful, I know.
There's 2 that I'm crazy about, was Grateful and That's Where Love Ends. So Grateful is very much through this journey of going through the cancer scare and all of that stuff, and really going, God, I'm so grateful that I'm still alive, that I still get to sing, and it's just this absolute simple little piece of music that's joyful. That's Where Love Ends was written for my dad. So Dad passed away 6 years ago now, and he was a bass player, and he was the first bass player in my band. So he actually, got me started and taught me to gig and all of that stuff. So when he died, it was like I could hear the bass kind of, echoing through the house. It was like he just left the room. So I wrote this song about how, when people pass away, it's like the spirit lingers and the music lingers, like there's like he's just left the room and I can hear you echoing in the notes. And those 2 songs are my favourites.
Yeah. In general, how do you write songs? Do you sit down at the keyboard?
I kind of get songs, they just totally arrive. So for the most part, they turn up overnight or just in my head, where the whole song arrives and I can hear it. I can hear every part of it. I can hear what the horns are going to do, the bass riff, the guitar, like I can hear everything in there. So my difficulty is, because I'm a lousy player, I can actually communicate all of that verbally, so I can sing it. So I sit down, first thing I do is I record the entire song onto my phone, just sing it through. And then I put a metronome down so I know that I'm going to stay in time, sit down, work out some basic chords so I can play basic chords on the keyboard. So then I write down a basic chord chart and the metronome and say, okay guys, now drummer comes in, and then I go, look, can you try this groove for me, this groove for me? Oh yeah, that's what I want. Great, bass player, this is what I'm looking for. And then it'll come up with something incredible. I go, yeah, that's way better than I thought. And then we go from there. So horn lines, I sing them out and they go, oh, you mean like this? When they chart it out.
Dave plays a couple of very nice solos on a couple of tracks. Is he the type of player that just comes up with stuff on the spot?
Oh, he's incredible. He's a fantastic musician. I mean, they all are, and I think that's what inspires me the most, is that hearing what they do, and Dave just goes in there and just shreds, we go, yeah, do it again, because we just want to hear more. Not because we needed another take, we just wanted to hear more.
from here on with the album? Are you intending to release it overseas?
Yeah, it actually has been released overseas. So we've actually got a lot of interest already in the US, the UK, Europe, the whole lot. So it's actually currently being played all over there as of last week. So it's fantastic. It's got some great reviews, and I'm so honoured when people, you know, in the States particularly, come back and say we're hearing Stax and Motown, and we're hearing that real soul sound, and that blows my mind because it's like so cool. I was hoping for that, but I could never have. I was never expecting that. You know, I was hoping, and I was going, well, this is what I love. I really hope you're not going to say what I want to be. And this is pathetic, and what is she thinking? So, you know, it's been great.
Yeah, because you've been to the States before. You were involved in a competition?
Yeah, look, I've done the International Blues Challenge twice. So the Melbourne Blues Society, they're fantastic to us, and they've sent us over twice representing Australia in Melbourne Blues. So we got to perform at the International Blues Challenge, not the Funky Hitmen, but my blues band. So we went over there as a 5-piece, and we played on Beale Street in Memphis, got to the top 40 bands in the world. So out of 160 bands, like, we got down to the top 40, and we just performed all over Memphis, and it was great. And having the original songs where people went, you write real, authentic Memphis sounding blues. And I went, yes, so cool.
Yeah. So what are your hopes and dreams for this album now that it's out?
I hope that it brings people joy. The greatest thing is that I make music to make myself happy and to make other people happy. So in that moment when people are dancing and they're really losing themselves in your music, and you have that kind of thing of, okay, I made that person forget what their troubles are for that moment. I think that this album is very joyful. So as a whole, I'm hoping that it makes people happy and makes people dance.
Yeah. Andrea Marr, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate it.